All right, good morning to you, everybody. It's Daybreak at iFiber One News Radio. Jeff Slakey, hope you're having a good start to your day. I got two great guests in studio. We're talking about some good programs at Shelton High School and starting off a great section of guests throughout the day here today. From Shelton DECA, I have got Meadow Howard and Josephine Beaudoin. Good morning to you both.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How you doing?
Good.
How are
Thanks.
you?
I'm well. Thanks for coming on. It's pretty early. I know y'all have to get to school, so we'll talk about getting you in and out of here. DECA program has, for years, been a wonderful program at Shelton High School, and Miss Mahoney does a great job of teaching the kids and teaching y'all some life skills when it comes to DECA. First things first, for maybe somebody who is not familiar with DECA, talk to me a little bit about the program at the high school, how often you meet, the types of the officers. You're both officers, so let's talk about that. Who would like to start? Josephine, let's start with you.
Yeah. So DECA is basically a marketing club where we learn about community service, networking, presentation skills. We do competition, and it's just a really fun club. Me and Meadow are both officers. I am the treasurer and secretary, and then she is chapter relations. And I've been in the club for 3 years. She's been in the club for 2 years, and it's really just a fun club. The more you put into DECA and the more activities and events that you go to, the more that you get out of it, the more that you learn. It's a wonderful club.
There's a lot of traveling involved that you're able to do as you move on through statewide competitions and national competitions and things like that. I'd imagine some of the skills when you first get into DECA may seem a bit overwhelming, public speaking and networking and things like that. But once you get a handle on these things, you use these in all aspects of your life. Is that, Meadow, you find that out?
Yeah, I've found that out. I've had a lot of more skills in like speaking in public.
Yeah.
From DECA.
So I remember a couple months back now, you guys put on a financial literacy fair with the help of Peninsula Credit Union. You guys were learning some of these skills. What were some of the skills? Balancing checkbooks, things like that, saving money?
Budgeting was
Yeah.
a really big skill that we focused on. They wanted to focus on how to save, and then also another focus was like when they went around to the different booths, there was like automotive salesmen, and they learned that some people aren't always trying to sell you what's the plan that's right for you or what the cheapest plan is. They're trying to sell you what's really going to make them money.
Oh.
And so yeah,
Kind of
Yeah.
gives you some awareness when you go into these situations.
definitely.
Very interesting. And so you took some of these skills and you kind of, first things first, I got to know. Is it hard to talk to your peers at the school about budgeting, about saving money, about putting stuff aside now so maybe you can afford things later? Is that a common conversation you guys have?
Not a common conversation, but once the conversation starts going, I feel like it's pretty easy going with more of the students that are at Shelton High School.
People understand kind of, well, if I save some now, then maybe, I'll be able to afford a car or move on to college, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who have no problem understanding it. Then there's other students who like have jobs, but then they have trouble like budgeting their money and like knowing what to prioritize and how to save. But financial literacy, there are some kids who really get into it and want to know a lot more about it. I personally have a friend who's asked me a couple questions about that. But then there's other people who really have no interest. They don't feel like it's going to affect them until later in life.
Right.
But not everybody realizes how important it is to save and start saving early.
What are some, you don't have to say the person's name or anything like that, but what were some of the questions they asked you?
They asked me like, how can I set more money aside? How can I save more money? Just stuff like that, because they wanted to know how to save money because they had trouble saving money, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Huh. All right. Now you've taken what you learned from that financial reality fair, and then you started helping out a bunch of students, some 60 some odd students from Olympic Middle School. So tell me how this came out and what you think the takeaway was from the middle school students.
The takeaway from middle school students, I feel like they at first were like, oh, I don't want to learn about money. Like, I'm only in 6th and 7th grade.
Right.
But once they came out of it, I feel like they learned a lot, and I feel like they had fun and experienced a lot of things.
Do you think it helps to be talked about these things by similar aged folks You know, you hear from maybe Miss Mahoney or from some adult in the street, and you're like, hey, you know, you should be saving money because it'll help you in the long run. And you go, yeah, sure, whatever. But if students are talking to other students, do you think that helps make those connections?
Yeah, I think it helps make those connections because it's kind of student talking to student, so they learn it earlier in life.
So what kind of things did you do with the middle school students?
We gave them basically a budgeting worksheet, and on the budgeting worksheet, it had their job. We had different jobs, like I think we had chef, truck driver. We even threw in a fun one, a mall cop.
Oh, yeah.
Some kids found that pretty funny. And then it also came with the net monthly income that we researched. And then once we had that net monthly income, they went around to different booths that had their needs and wants on them. And so let's say that they wanted to go to a car dealership. There was also appliances, there was housing, there was food, pets, stuff like that. And they went around and they spent their money, and the different kind of like salesmen sold them different stuff. And the salesmen were actually high school DECA students. And so they were able to learn about those like skills, like the public speaking skills, and then learn about stuff like that. While the students were also learning about financial literacy, and they were going around and learning how to budget. And then after they finished with their budgeting worksheet, they had to go to a calculations table, which had some members of Peninsula Credit Union helping them out. And then so they were like filling out how much they needed to save. And then after that, they went to the bowl of life, which was just like a big bowl that had different like sheets of paper in it, and you could pick one out, and that's like your life scenario. So let's say that you pick out $100 because your grandma gave you a birthday gift, or you pick out you have lost $50 because you lost your phone, something
Sure.
like that. And then we had the financial counselors, which helped them reassess, like
Oh, wow.
maybe they had to go return some stuff.
Boy, that's
Yeah.
helpful stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you never know. That stuff does happen. Just like, you know, you pull it out. I remember playing the game of life, and those are the same types of things. Up, got to pay $10,000. You just had a kid or something like that. Very cool. You know, Peninsula Credit Union is a great credit union in the community. They do a lot of good work, and to be able to help explain to y'all in DECA, and then to take that knowledge and then help it distill it even more into a middle school understanding, that has got to be great for you to kind of reinforce those skills, and then talk with those kids. You think you got some new DECA students as they move into the high school program? You got some folks that are interested?
Yeah, we really try to get the word out about DECA, so we invite even non-DECA members to our DECA meetings just to see what we're all about. So
Very
I feel
cool.
like a lot of DECA members come.
We're running close on time. Is there anything else that I forget? Did I miss anything? Miss Mahoney, anything else that we need to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
Well, good on y'all for doing this. What a fun time, and way to, you know, money's a tough thing to talk about.
For sure.
And,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, trying to explain these things to folks who may or may not even, you know, you may not even have come across kids who ever even had an allowance or something like that. They're just not really familiar with it. So spread that knowledge to them. Very cool. Well, fun. It was nice talking with you and nice meeting you both. Josephine, Meadow, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
Have a
problem.
great day at school, okay?